Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only, Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with my co-host, PK, Miss Kirkman. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing absolutely fine. If it keeps staying hot like this, I'll be slim and trim as could be because it's like living in a sauna.
I guess it is. Oh, my goodness. Well, it feels like fall here. We're down into, like, the 50s tonight.
Oh, God, I'm so jealous.
But you won't be in the next couple months when it starts getting really cold. I'll be jealous of you.
Well, okay. It's a good trade. Nah,
it is. We trade this jealousy off.
Heck. Yeah.
So tell us, so this has been a crazy, crazy week, another one. So what can we expect, and what have you been looking at for the numbers?
Well, the first thing that I really think everybody needs to pay attention to is this month has been wrapping up what we did last year. So we've been getting, insights into things like that. But we're getting ready to go into September. And sorry, folks, but September is going to be a review of this entire year. Restrictions, limitations. Think of all the things that we've been going through all year long that we all hate. We're going to multiply and divide, and it's coming back at us like a freight train. So I hate to say September is going to be a real bugaboo. But come October, we're going to get a reprieve. But in the meantime, we still have to deal with September. Restrictions, limitations, and people are going to be short-tempered. We're already starting to see even more so with the walks and fires, etc. And I'm really concerned about what's going to be taking place in the month of September because people are walking around on a short fuse. The groups that are getting together have never been together before, and each one is egging the other one on. And that's what's going to be harmful. Health is going to be a major issue throughout the world, not just the country, as will be the restrictions that we're going to be going through. There's going to be many more arguments and angers and more issues about the police and brutality. And the bottom line is everybody's got to calm down. And if they don't, we'll have nothing left but rubble in the streets. They've got to stop burning themselves out of a life and blaming everybody else for it. People have to calm down and communicate. And that's not happening, and I don't see it happening until after October. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Well put. Appreciate all of this insight, and so we'll just buckle up for September.
Have to.
And try to calm down and not be a part of all this craziness.
Oh, people, man's inhumanity to man has been blown up 10 times over what it usually is. That's sad.
That is. It's really not the direction we want to go in, that is for sure. Absolutely.
But thank God, when we get into 2021, life will get better. But
Yay.
We've got to ride these next few months.
Yeah, we got to hang on by our fingernails the next few months, and then life will be good again. Yay.
Oh, I pray it's so. Yes.
Me too. Well, I want to direct everybody over to our Facebook page. Make sure you like and follow us there, and on Twitter. We've got some great stories to share. They're all on our Facebook page, and we have something else to announce. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows this, that our guest, who's been on a number of times, Ed Edwards, and researcher John Krutz, who is from the Rhine Center, They are both going to be on Coast to Coast tonight. And that, if you got to be either an early riser or somebody who stays up all night to see it, or to listen to it, I should say, 3 to 5 a.m., that's when they're on. And as you know, Ed and John both have been terrific guests on our show, and Ed's going to do a live demo, just like he did here. So if you want to catch it, that is tonight, 3 to 5 a.m. So let's get down to what we're doing, because we've got two fabulous guests. My dear friend, René Barnett. Yes, she's joining us. And now, everybody may not know this, but René is very famous. She is a veteran television producer, and she's laughing, specializing in entertainment special series, documentaries, reality-based programming. She does it all. Now, René has produced hundreds of hours of really good television, including Ripley's Believe It or Not, Unmasked, Exposing the Secrets of Deception, Strange Universe, Places of Mystery, Guinness Book of Records, Primetime, Conspiracy with Jesse Ventura, and many, many others. She is returning to her radio roots. Well, actually, she did that 13 years ago when she established and launched NightVisionRadio, which is an excellent sister radio show. And she did a weekly show covering conspiracies, hidden history, and the paranormal. And now she's relaunching mid-September on KGRA Radio. So be sure to make a note of that. You don't want to miss René's new show. And we are also joined by James Martin, who is a British historian. He is calling in from the UK tonight. It is very late at night there, and he's had a lot of coffee just to be with us. So we're very honored. He's an economist and lecturer with experience in the field of paranormal investigation. Now, James has been a member and investigator of the Worsley, I hope I'm saying that right, Worsley Paranormal Group since its founding in 2003. As an historian, James believes that understanding the past is crucial to understanding our future, noting that evidence should guide us, but our minds should be open to ideas. I love that. That's wonderful. So I'm going to introduce our guests tonight, both René and James. Welcome to the show. How are you both?
Hi there.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Sorry, just want to make one little correction there. James is actually joining us from his home where he's recently moved in Southwest
he's in France. I am so sorry.
That's right.
He's even staying up later than I thought. France, that's right. Isn't that like another hour?
Further away.
Ah,
yep.
Geez.
Bless your heart.
Yep, that's right.
That's right. Now, I wanted to start off with something extremely exciting that both of you are doing. You are involved in the next haunted live stream at none other than the Lizzie Borden house right here in Massachusetts. So this is a do-not-miss event, everybody. You can join in for $19.99. It's going to be great. And I'm going to let you both take it away and tell everybody what this is about.
Well, as a producer, I've most recently been working with a company of some colleagues of mine called Dark Zone Productions. And back in May, we were the first ever to do a live streaming event that went 24 hours a day and went all over the world. It was fully immersive, fully interactive, and we did it from the real house that was portrayed in the Conjuring movie. It was very exciting and fun and popular with our viewers, and so we decided to do it again. And so we are doing it this time live. It's called From the Lizzie Borden Murder House, and it starts this Friday, August 28th, and runs through the 31st. So it's going to run 24 hours a day. There'll be cameras that run all night that people can monitor, record evidence, whatever they like. And then during the daytime hours here in the U.S., we'll have visitors coming in, a lot of sort of celebrity-type ghost hunter characters and experts like James Martin, who is going to share with us some of the history of that local area. We've got some psychics coming in. I'm very excited Patricia, I know you know Lynn Buchanan, who was one of the original remote viewers. Well, Lynn has been training a young woman for the last, I want to say 29 years, named Lori Lambert Williams. And she is very proficient. She has become a trainer, and she has her own company called Intuitive Specialists, plural.com. And she has her own team of remote viewers. And she brought together a group of 10, or not together, remotely each of them, and had them view this case. So they're going to be revealing their results live. I don't even know what they are. I understand they were very consistent among each other and that they were very exciting, and they had a lot of things to say about who did the crime and a lot of evidence that goes toward motive. So that's going to be really, really interesting, and to see the revelation of that report by Lori. And it's possible that Lynn may pop by. He certainly was invited, but he's also right in the midst of a family medical emergency. So we may see him, we may not, but certainly his work will be evident in everything that Lori does. And so we're very excited about that. And James, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're going to be focusing on? If you don't give anything away, though.
Well, there you go. We're making silent. So it's really interesting for me as a historian to be involved in a really famous murder case in the US. It's sometimes called the American Jack the Ripper murder, and I've got a few things that I've uncovered, let's just say, that'll add maybe to the mystery, the whodunit, if you will, that might make some of our thoughts at the moment change. We might look for some other suspects. We might have a look for multiple suspects. There will certainly be some interesting facts revealed on the show.
Well, I can't wait for this.
And another thing that we're having this time that we did not have last time and got so many requests is we're also simulcasting with Spanish subtitles. So we'll get even more of the world involved in this live stream, and I'm so happy that we were able to offer that this time. We had so many requests, so should be a big crowd. We had a lot of community forming at the last one that still exists, forming little special rooms on Facebook and all that. So we've got a lot of people that are kind of following what we're doing, and we're hoping to gather up even more because we're having a lot of fun. And we came up with this idea, or I should say, our executive producers, I wish I'd thought of it, but it was Jay Blumke and Kathleen Burns that called me on this project several months ago and said we thought of this idea, are you crazy enough to try it with us? We don't know how it's going to turn out. I said, yeah, I am. I'm crazy and I'm bored. There's nothing going on in production. There's no shooting or anything. So I said, let me jump right on this. And I swear it nearly killed us, and I can't believe I was crazy enough to do it again. But we're all so totally enthralled with the story and really involved in putting on a good show that it's been a lot of fun. It's well worth the missed sleep. I'll catch up next week. On Tuesday, I'll be unconscious completely, so I'll make up for all time. Well, we're going to be doing, an investigation.
French coffee, Renee.
Yeah, I do. I need to go to the PMU Cafe and have a nice cup of strong French coffee. But we're barreling towards it. But it's really exciting because we're not only doing. Well, last time it was strictly paranormal investigation, which was fun, great. This time it's also a murder investigation. So we're doing, a murder investigation and we're doing paranormal investigation. So combining the
it really is in such a paranormal area as well.
That's right.
The entire area is renowned for paranormal activity. Just outside the Bridgewater Triangle. Lots of
right.
murders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very special supernatural area, that triangle here.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to be talking about that area also during the event. But, we have an expert on the Bridgewater Triangle and sort of some of the paranormal activity around that area. But also James has uncovered some really interesting, kind of bizarre stories and facts from that time period. I mean, it was 1892, and, we had during that same time period the Jack the Ripper murders and also the serial killers of the Chicago World's Fair by a guy named H.H. Holmes. And so we decided also to have someone sort of look at that time period astrologically, and it turned up some very weird things in conjunctions of planets and things like that don't come around except every 500 years and things, and then also some things in Lizzie's personal chart for August 4th, 1892, which was the day of the murders. It was also
August
very
4th,
odd.
No kidding. Oh, my goodness. That's
my
birthday. Not 1892, though.
My birthday.
Happy birthday. You just passed. Yeah.
Now, you're also going to have Tony Rathman with you, right? You're going to have Tony?
Tony Rathman and Cherie, his wife, are going to be with us. They're a ghost hunting couple from Arizona. They have that crazy haunted
ghost
hospital
box
over there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they have a paranormal school, a ghost hunting training school at this extremely haunted old hospital. I mean, just looking at it scares me. But they give classes there, where they train people to use ghost hunting equipment and how to approach a potentially haunted area and all kinds of things. And their whole family, the kids too, get involved in it. And they're just amazing. But, yes, his major thing in my book is what he calls his Evox, which is a souped-up Frank box or spirit box. I've never seen anything like it. And James can testify to this, too. We actually heard our friend
many years
who had just passed away.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? I just had a session
James.
with him. I'll share this very quickly. And Becky came through numerous times.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I could tell it was her, and it was amazing. So I highly recommend him to people now who want an experience like that, because he is excellent, and I'm so grateful because I met him through you, Renee. But tell everybody how they can sign up and pay for this 4-day experience. How can they do that?
You can go to our website. It's called The Dark Zone, thedarkzone.tv, and on the front page, just have a look. It'll show you how you can register and buy your ticket. It's also on the Dark Zone Facebook page. Information is there, but we're pretty easy to find. And so just go to thedarkzone.tv, and you'll get everything that you need there. If you have a problem, of course, shoot us an email through the Dark Zone, and we'll help you out. But it should be quite simple.
Well, It's going to be a very exciting weekend for anybody who signs up for that. I highly recommend it. I know the last one was tremendously exciting, and new things happened, and new insights came about as a result.
You were with us on the last one.
I was, and I just had a ball with that. It was so much fun. So everybody,
we're going to have to get you back.
Go to it.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back on another one.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
This is great. I'm all for it. But in the meantime, everybody, make sure you go to thedarkzone.tv and sign up for this. You won't be sorry you did. It's going to be an exciting weekend for you. And now we should probably get to our topic for tonight, which is another exciting situation. And you guys are the experts. Now, as I mentioned off air, we have never talked about this on our show before. So this Bloodline of the Holy Grail is new in our show to our listeners, and it's a fascinating topic. It is one of the very coolest topics I've ever read about and I've ever heard about. So I'm going to let you guys explain exactly what is this. Are there heirs? Are there people walking around today that are descendants of Jesus and Mary? Tell us, what is this Holy Grail, this bloodline?
Well, it's interesting that we just mentioned Tony and his Evox, and the fact that, we heard our friend Tim Wallace Murphy actually speaking to us about 2 months after his passing, when I happened to be over in France with James and other friends, and I was connected with Tony Rathman at that time, and I asked him if he could contact someone, and he said, well, that's not exactly what I do. He said, what I do is I go to haunted places, and I see, who's there and wants to speak. And he said, but you know what, I'll give it a try. And so I went to bed that night. When I woke up the next day, had a message from Tony that was just a small audio clip. And I got about 30 seconds into it, and I jumped up and started running through the house and screaming. I burst into the bathroom where my friend Jeannie was actually in the tub, and say, Jeannie. And I said, because I thought, I'm losing my mind. So I said, just listen to this. And so I just played it, and she says, oh, my gosh, it's Tim. And I had already shot it over to James, who was just down the block at his place, and said, stop whatever you're doing and listen to this right now. Next thing I know, I get a text back from James saying, that's Tim, all right. And Tim is Tim Wallace Murphy, and he was a very, very well-known author, particularly in the area of, the Bloodline of the Grail. My favorite book, he's written so many, but one of my very favorite books of his was Rex Deus, which talks about that very thing. And, of course, James and his two brothers-in-arms there took care of Tim in the last year or so of his life. And so they spent lots and lots of time together. He was basically a father figure for James, who we have here. And James is actually completing Tim's last book, which happens to contain some of this information. So maybe, Jay, if you want to start, excuse me for calling him Jay, it's James.
It's fine.
But I call him Jay on our off times. And anyway, I wonder if you'd like to sort of explain a little bit about that bloodline thing. I know you and I kind of see it the same way. But of course, there is that idea about the Sinclair family and people like that who, people have claimed to be in the direct bloodline of Jesus. So you want to take it?
Well, yeah. I was preparing some notes for the show, and I thought, what would sum up nicely in a quote what we're about to talk about? And I found a great quote from Mark Twain, who said, "The truth is stranger than fiction, but it is because fiction is not obliged to stick to possibilities. Truth isn't." And really, it's within that I think we'll be looking at some controversial points, but there is an idea that there is a continuation of Jesus' family through a marriage to Mary Magdalene and with his children, Sarah and James. And a lot of this, started off with, for me at least, with Tim Wallace Murphy, again, Rex Deus, which proposed this idea that there was a bloodline of Jesus that really continued into the various royal families of Europe and then elsewhere, moving into some noble families. So you'll hear us talking about the Merovingians, who were a dynasty in France, the Sinclairs, and really this idea of tolerance, peace, and also some really esoteric wisdom was passed down these families into the generations today. So to answer your question, yes, there could very well be descendants of Jesus and Mary walking around with us today. Really, a lot of this idea, which I'm sure your listeners have read, or this idea has been around since before the Da Vinci Code, really, in what's called the Nag Hammadi manuscripts, or the Gnostic Gospels, to put them in a different way. And it was in one of the Gnostic Gospels of James, where he says that these people did not harm me, in reference to Jesus. Rather, all was inflicted upon a figure of the rulers, and it was fitting that this figure should be destroyed by them. In other words, it wasn't me that was crucified. Jesus returns to James, and this has really opened up a whole range of possibilities. Here in the south of France, we even have a town which it is alleged, or local rumour, and this town is St. Mary de la Mer, that 3 of the biblical Marys arrived from across the Mediterranean Sea. In fact, St. Mary's de la Mer means the 3 Marys from the sea. So there's a real rich tradition of a continuous bloodline. And Renee, I don't know if you want to just take on.
And that within that story at Saint Marie de la Mer, the idea is also, we hear stories, legends, and see some paintings in old murals and things that depict the Marys or a Mary coming in a boat, either with the body of Jesus or with a wounded Jesus. Not clear. We've also identified some sites very oddly in Roman Catholic churches in France that depict a living Jesus after the crucifixion. You know the one I'm on about right now, James, where there's the big trifold mural. I can't remember the location. I don't know if you want to divulge it or not. But
sure.
Certainly those signs are everywhere. And among many of the locals, they say, well, of course, Jesus was here, and so were the children. They played in the meadow. And you're like, wow, it's just accepted. There are many, sort of descendants of the Cathar people who were, considered heretics by the church and pretty much fairly successfully wiped out. But there are still some descendants who secretly, keep those same beliefs, and they very much have a regard for, Mary Magdalene and the idea of a marriage between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I found Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's from there that it's a really good point, which is Jesus was a Jew. He was most likely a rabbi. And one of the prerequisites for being a rabbi is A, to be married, and B, to have children. So this idea that it's accepted that, he's a rabbi, that, he must have had children. And in fact, again, the Gnostic Gospels suggest this. Now, the notion is that under the various Roman, or maybe others, persecution within the Holy Land at the time, which in effect had been in a constant state of civil war for at least 750 years previous. This idea that Jesus survived the crucifixion begins to take a bit more shape when you then start to have a look at, well, where else were the Jewish diaspora at the time? And one of the second or the largest Jewish community outside of the Middle East was actually on the southern French coast. And there was an idea that if someone was fleeing persecution, then the next safest place to be would be in the south of France. Now, there were some churches, it used to be, and some people believe, that there was only one church, the Church of Rennes-le-Château, that depicts something very unusual. And actually, there's more than one church within the south of France that depicts this. And that is the depiction at Station 14 of Catholic churches, which usually depicts Jesus being taken into or out of the cave. Now, in the Church of Rennes Chateau, which is very much steeped within the Bloodline mystery, when they did a film on this. At Station 14, there is a moon in the sky. Now, under Jewish law, bodies cannot be touched at night time. So, that is to say, dead bodies can't be touched at night time. So, if there's a moon there, does that suggest that, in fact, he wasn't dead? In fact, the church at Montaigne, which is the other place René was referring to, again, there's a moon there. In fact, there's many other sites across the south of France where there was a moon depicted at Station 14. Now, is someone trying to tell us something?
Yeah.
Right. In other words, Station 14 is normally predicted in the light of day, Jesus being put into the tomb that was supposedly lent to him by Joseph of Arimathea. And that's always a daytime depiction in Catholic churches. But in the church at Rennes-le-Château, which is at the heart of this Bloodline mystery, the heart of the film, Bloodline that I did with Bruce Burgess, we pointed out that in the church there, that depicted a nighttime scene. And as James said, according to Jewish law, you do not touch a dead body after sundown, after sunset. So was that something that the priest there, when he had that church redecorated and those things painted, was that a clue he was trying to give us? Well, lo and behold, James has now uncovered not just one other church that Station 14 has that strange depiction, but also several others. And he's keeping note of where all these locations are. And so hopefully, we can look into all those, as he's already been doing. But I think that's really interesting. Also with the Rennes-le-Château Church, the stations run backwards in the other direction from a normal Catholic church. They start, at a different point and end at a different point. So I'm not sure what that means, but there's a lot of symbolism of mirrors in the Grail mysteries. Mirror images, as above, so below. The invisible church outside the church at Rennes-le-Château. There's supposedly another church that is like a mirror image. Just things like that, just to kind of tickle the brain and make you wonder, what are people trying, to leave for us to find out. And
it's so amazing, too, that the Rennes-le-Château church remains such a mystery after all this time.
It does. Now, those depictions were changed, and produced in, the late 1800s, or was it already after 1900, James, that Saunier had the church redone? I know it was after
I think
wealthy.
I think just to bring us back a little bit, it's certainly from the period of Lizzie Borden. So, yes,
right.
It was the 1890s, 1900s, yes.
If you want to go Lizzie Borden, I'll give you another one. What about the murder of the priest, Abbé Gelli? Another axe murder in the year 1892, the same year as the Lizzie Borden murders.
Yeah, what is it with that year in axes? My God.
Well, like I was telling you, astrologically, I guess it's pretty weird. But also we have some crime specialists, including our friend Colin Taylor, who's a retired homicide inspector with London Metropolitan Police Department at Scotland Yard. And he did a complete cold case investigation of this priest murder for us when we were doing our film, and found some incredible, strange things about that murder. And so we've also had him take a look, not as in-depth, but he'll be discussing with another crime scene expert the Lizzie Borden murder case, particularly the police investigation part. So
what weird things did he find?
Connection.
Can you give us an example, Renee, a detail of what strange thing he found with the priest murder with the axe? What was it?
Well, it was just a lot of oddness because Jelly was known to have been very, very paranoid, and he was afraid of something. He would not go to his door, if he didn't know who it was. About the only person he would even open the door to was his niece, who would bring him food, and I think even she had a particular knock to let him know. Well, he was found one day in his living room with an axe in his chest.
Yeah.
And
with all of the
nobody
doors
knows.
Oh,
with
the
all
door
the
was
doors
locked. Oh, my
Nobody
God.
knows who got in there, how. And the only other clue besides the axe, I guess, was a little tiny piece of paper. They said, I don't know if it was a cigarette paper, James, or if it was about the size of a cigarette paper, which said simply, Viva Angelina on it. And I thought that's very strange. And I thought that might be affiliated, and James, we've never discussed this, but I thought that might be associated with a secret society. Wasn't there the Angelina Society or something similar to that back in those days?
There was, from memory,
yeah, so
that's an offshoot of the Martinists, I believe, who were a sort of, I don't want to say Masonic, that's not true, but a secret society, if you will, in France. But,
yeah, so that was...
Why are secret societies so interested in this? I mean, one of the things that I can say to you is, I was looking at the record of an Italian historian who was born in 1595 called Odorico Rinaldi, and he was writing a book. I will not do the Latin for you, I will translate it for you, but it was essentially the Annals of the Church. That was started by someone called Baronius. And inside this work of Rinaldi, he was using an extract by a inquisitor, documenter of the Inquisition and the Cathar Crusade, the Albigensian Crusade as it was called. And this piece was by someone called Pierre de Vaudesernay. And what I thought was interesting in there was, I'll quote this, and again, I'll not translate, I'll not speak the Latin, but this is...
I appreciate that.
They said also in their secret doctrine, in secreto suo, there we go, that's all I'll do in Latin for you, that Christ was born in the visible and terrestrial Bethlehem. It continues, and the Cathars believed he was a bad man, and that Mary Magdalene was his concubine. Now, again, you've got a book that's been written for the church that is again saying, well, we have to suppress the Cathars, and the Cathars I'll talk about in a second. But we had to suppress the Cathars because they believed that Magdalene was concubine. Now, who are the Cathars? Well, the Cathars really were followers of someone called Bugu, or the ideas from Bugu, that really travelled from the Far East via the Silk Roads and ended up in northern and southern France and really across Europe. And they believed that this plane of existence is actually hell, and therefore when you go to heaven, that's the spiritual world. And they didn't believe that people should procreate, in other words, bring people onto this planet because of hell. And with that, they were the first vegetarians, oddly enough.
Wow.
So they were very ascetic people. People may have heard of that group and know it in America as the Bogomils that were the follower of that person you're talking about. You're calling it Bugu, and that's probably correct. Here, I've always heard of Bogomils, but you know what? I didn't really know what was behind the Bogomils. I only knew that the Cathars sort of developed out of or along that same line of thought. But go ahead.
They believe that Mary was a concubine, as I say, the partner of Jesus, and really their belief system had been around in the south of France for about 1,000 years before they were crusaded against and quite horrifically tortured. Now, if we just pause there with the Cathars, I'm just going to introduce something else, which is back directly to the royal bloodline. Something else that may be a Cathar belief, that there was a continuation of Jesus. I mean, the Cathars believed in a form of reincarnation anyway. So the notion of Jesus either being resurrected or being reincarnate like that was certainly something they accepted. I should just stress that the Cathars weren't a church. There wasn't. You're not going to be able to go to a Cathar church, as in a building. But it was a group of people with the same shared beliefs. And part of this belief system that Jesus and Mary continued is attached to a royal dynasty known as the Merovingians. Now, I personally don't buy into this, but the legend goes that the founder of the Merovingians, someone called Merovech, was, according to legend, the son of two fathers. One who was called Clodio, who was the son of a semi-legendary king called Pharamond, and a mysterious creature from across the sea who allegedly impregnated his mother. Now, Merovech can mean literally of the sea, or it can, if you go for Merovi, it means child of Mary. Mm-hmm. And so there's been a lot of discussion around, well, was the apparent founder of the Merovingian dynasty actually a child of Mary, a descendant from Mary, and therefore a descendant from the house of David? Now, the famous book, we can't avoid mentioning this, is the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail by Henry Lincoln, that really goes into the central mystery of esoteric Christianity and tries to expose its so-called greatest and most protected secret, that the bloodline of Jesus was preserved through his conceiving of a child with Mary Magdalene, who then fled Palestine with an entourage of disciples landing in southwestern France. And there is a very strong cult, or there is a very strong belief system, as René mentioned, about Mary Magdalene here in the south of France. One suggestion made famous by that book was the idea that Holy Grail, Sang Grail, actually is divided, meaning Sang, blood, Real, holy or royal. So it's not actually Sang Grail meaning Holy Grail, it's Sang Real meaning royal blood. And that really is one of the parts of the mystery within this immediate area, is that did the parish priest up at Rennes-le-Château, did he know, or did he uncover part of this bloodline? And this explains his apparent wealth. And he most certainly did come across quite a bit of cash or items of value, at least.
Yeah, he was pretty wealthy. He just basically had whatever he wanted, right?
Suddenly, he was wealthy all of a sudden. I have a little interesting personal story about that. In the legends and the mythos of Rennes-le-Château and Father Bérenger Saunière, the priest who became fabulously wealthy, basically overnight, is the idea that after his death, his maid/partner who was seen out in the garden there burning notes, and they were saying she was burning French monetary notes. I don't know if it was francs then or what it was. That's how the story went. But we uncovered a very elderly lady who lived nearby in Toulouse, who we went to go visit, and she was she called herself the adopted daughter of Marie Denarnaud, and Marie was Saunier's maid, who everyone felt was also his partner and who he left everything to when he died. And she was the one that was out there burning the so-called French notes. And so I mentioned that to the lady that I went to visit, and she said no, that she had helped her burn those. And she says, no. She says it wasn't money, it was documents.
Oh,
and
my
I said,
God.
Oh, my gosh. I said, don't you wish now that you didn't burn those, that we had those to look at? And she said, no. They went against the church. I would love to see what that was.
That's really a shame. My God. Terrible.
Yeah. I'm sure she's gone now.
This is how we get robbed of our true history.
That's right, because history's written by the victors, so we have to. That's why I was listening intently, James, when you were talking about that thing about the Cathars that you said a few minutes ago that was written for the church. I was thinking, okay, did we read that backwards, or do we, look at it straight on? Because a lot of what we do know about the Cathars is strictly from Inquisition records. And same thing with the Knights Templar. A lot of the Templar information that we have is put out by the Inquisitors, who were the enemy, and of course they're going to make them look as badly as possible and make themselves look positive. So you have to sort of read in between the lines.
Definitely.
That's what
you guys have uncovered so many other facts in all of this, too. And we're just going to take a very short commercial break and pick this up on the other side. And one of the questions I want to talk to you about, both of you, is these descendants. Do they all know who they are? I'm fascinated by this whole thought that we do have people here on the planet that are the direct descendants of Jesus and Mary. So we're going to take a very short commercial break, everybody. And you are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. We will be right back.
Pure essential oils, specialized minerals, and a revolutionary anti-aging technology. Astridian combines the best of all scientifically proven ingredients in easy-to-use creams, lotions, and concentrated serums. Astridian's advanced line of products take your skin to a new level of being healthy and beautiful. We offer a variety of collections that address all your skin concerns. The Essential Anti-Aging Series treats and moisturizes your skin for a long-lasting, younger look. The Multivitamin Series promotes healthy skin with high-quality vitamins and minerals. The Sports Series restores skin from cellular damage and stress. Astridian also offers a revitalizing solution for hair and a professional series for doctors and medical spas. Visit astridian.love today and begin your new journey to healthy, beautiful, youthful skin. Astridian, beyond your expectations.
There are a lot of psychics out there. How do you decide which one is right for you? You look for someone who empowers you, who's practical and spiritually connected, who says, here are your opportunities, here are your challenges, and here's a way to deal with them, and then gives you your own toolbox to make your life everything you want it to be. Hi, I'm Corby Mitleid, and that's how I work with you. As a certified professional tarot reader, I've helped thousands of people for over 40 years through my toolbox. Cards, past life retrieval, numerology, spirit guide conferences, and mediumship. Whether it's career, relationships, finances, or your spiritual road, together we can replace your confusion with clarity. And you'll probably find a little laughter along the way. Visit me at CorbyMitleid.com to find out how to cross your bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. And tell me you found me at Supernatural Girls for a special gift with your reading. Corby Mitleid, the practical psychic for catching your tomorrows today. Find me at CorbyMitleid.com. That's CorbyMitleid.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you frustrated with endless mantras, affirmations, and processes that promise to align your life with your dreams, only to find yourself years later in the same space where you began? Do you feel like you must be doing something wrong because nothing seems to be working? Don't you just wish that someone could shift your consciousness for you and your life could align with your desires without all the effort? Well, your wish is about to come true. Hi, I'm Carrie Cannon, and I have a gift that allows me to align the consciousness of others to be in harmony with their dreams. The best part is, it requires no particular effort on your part. Upon listening to a consciousness alignment, people have reported instant energy shifts, financial windfalls, soulmate connections, healed relationships, physical healings, and more. To gain access to a free trial offer for my entire Manifesting Miracles library of consciousness alignments, go to commandmiracles.com now for details. Again, that's commandmiracles.com for information about our free trial offer. That's commandmiracles.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. PK and I are here tonight with two incredible guests, experts on Bloodline of the Holy Grail, René Barnett and James Martin. And I wanted to, again, go back to my question that I started to ask at the end of the last segment. Do these people who are the descendants of Jesus and Mary know who they are?
Well, let me go back to something that James said a little earlier as he referenced the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail by co-authors Henry Lincoln, Richard Lee, and Michael Bagent. Henry's the only one who is still with us. He's age 90 now, and he lives there in the same general area as James does now, as did Tim Wallace Murphy in the last few years of his life. But the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail, started out, by bringing the suggestion to me in 1982 as I read that book. That was probably about the year that James was born. But anyhow, I read that book, and I thought, oh, my goodness. I thought, oh, my goodness, this is so crazy. This idea of, Jesus being married and, Mary Magdalene, and the idea that women, are really should be as important as men, because, I don't know about you, Patricia, but, as a kid, I kind of got the idea that it was a little bit better to be a boy,
definitely.
Because you seem to get a few extra breaks in life. And the idea to me was so heretical at that time that I was like almost afraid to pursue it. But I did, and then that became one of the facts that we were chasing as we did the movie Bloodline, the documentary that came out in 2008. We basically took that little group of questions or facts that were stated by Dan Brown at the beginning of the Da Vinci Code. Fact, Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene. Fact, they had children, and created a bloodline. Fact, the bloodline goes on to this day, and there's a secret society known as the Priory of Zion who's protecting this bloodline and their secrets. So that was our thing, and we started looking, and we started, of course, the name of Sinclair always comes up, the Sinclair family as being direct descendants, and that sort of started, at least in the public consciousness, with Holy Blood, Holy Grail, with the introduction of this character called Pierre de Plantard de Saint Clair. and or Sinclair. St. Clair, Sinclair are the same family name. And so we started out looking to see. We did speak to people that were in that family. In fact, our wonderful late friend Tim, one of his main patrons, you know, as a struggling artist and writer, was Niven Sinclair, who passed away just a couple of years ago, and he supported Tim's work for decades. And you know, when you ask Niven, he would go, "Well, I don't know, you know, if I'm in the bloodline of Jesus, you know, I'm kind of worried about the bloodline, you know." And we would laugh about it. But I've done extensive looking into that, as we did in Bloodline, and I know that James has, so I'm going to let him pick it up from here.
Well,
that's your setup.
Leave the easy ones for me. Yeah, to answer the question directly, probably not. It would be potentially millions of us, if not more, descendants, and I don't think that most of us do. I mean, it would be interesting. The reality is that most people don't know their own family history.
Right.
So I think the answer would be.
So people could be here on the planet with us, James, and walking around, being direct descendants, and not even know it.
Yeah.
That's true, but also when we were doing our research on Bloodline, we spoke with a mathematician, statistician at MIT who had actually done a study. If there was a bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, who would be in it today? The answer is you are. Almost everyone on the planet by this time would have some connection, maybe not direct, but some connection to that bloodline after all this time. And all the, you know, yeah. And it's weird, though, because James and I have both been each looking into our family's genealogy, and it's amazing how many times we cross over with relatives and with some of these strange characters that we are looking into, the very ones that we're researching. And I didn't have any idea about my family lineage. I still don't know much about my dad's, although James has been looking into it for me. But my cousin did my mother's side, because that's our common side. And it blew my mind, because my cousin doesn't know anything about this Grail stuff, you know, and he just did it along with he hired a genealogist to help him with it. And all the names that pop in to our genealogy, I was just, it was blowing my mind. These are the very people I've been researching. And, you know, supposedly this guy's my 53rd, you know, great-grandfather, and on down the road. But also James and I have discovered connections between the two of us. He's also discovered connections between him and, you know, other friends. So I think if we all knew our genealogy, there'd be a lot of surprises and a lot more connections between people than we realize.
And, you know, PK, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
You know, I always thought you had a connection there, too. Have you ever had your genealogy done along those lines?
I've had some things done in the past. It's surprising, but there's a little bit of a crossover. Because my grandmother was Italian descent, my grandmother and grandfather on one side, and there's some things showing up there. So it's going to be interesting to, I really need to dig into it more.
Yeah, I think you should, because I think you have a connection with all of this. I really do.
I think that there's more that unites us than divides us. And, you know, if we were to look at, if we were to understand where we all come from, then I think we would, you know, we'd appreciate that. I mean, one of the real questions is, did these families not necessarily know that they were descendants, and say alleged descendants, so as not to offend anyone, but they, you know, did they keep the secret? And throughout history, one of the things that Tim really was pretty key on was looking at the symbology that was passed seemingly from generation to generation. You know, lots of very unusual symbology, when it wasn't possible to speak out about your belief system, about any sacred knowledge that you had, then do we see that in artwork? Do we see that in literature? Do we see it in portraiture, etc., etc., throughout our history? And that's one of the interesting points as well. You have a sort of cult of the Black Madonna, which is very prevalent within southern France. I should say it's also around Europe. And this idea that that Mary Magdalene was someone of perhaps Egyptian, perhaps Ethiopian descent, and that she was represented within churches in a way that represented her as a black woman. Certainly, she would have, she would have spoke Aramaic, etc.
If I could just interject there, also, there is certainly that thought or idea that she might have been Egyptian, Ethiopian, and had darker skin. But there's also the idea of the dark or the black being occult or secret, and that she's the secret Madonna, and that's why she's portrayed as dark. So it could be double reason, or it could be one or the other.
Yeah, maybe.
But certainly people do connect the Black Madonnas, which you see around various churches and other places in France a lot. I've never known anywhere to have Black Madonnas in prevalence like that. It's really interesting. It's like they're little traces and they're all hiding in plain sight. You can see all these things if you just go out and look around. That's James's philosophy. He says he's of the Goya philosophy. Get off your ass. Get out there in the field.
Yeah, go James. I agree.
I'd love to, but France won't let me in right now, so I can't.
Oh, I know. That's terrible.
I'll be there soon enough.
You sure will. I know you will. I got a question also to both of you about the esoteric knowledge that has been passed down through the bloodline, through the descendants. So the people who know that they're descendants, they've obviously been given this knowledge, which I'm very intrigued with. Has anybody had a hint of what that is?
Well, there's all sorts of ideas. I mean, I will give you just one notion, something that you can actually go and see, provided France and the EU open its borders to Americans. But anyway, for those non-Americans listening, please come along and go to a cathedral called Chartres. Now, Chartres Cathedral has the exterior of it is very interesting. It depicts it depicts the bloodline of Jesus amongst many other things. I could talk for hours about that. But really, when you go in, you'll notice that the stained glass is they actually call it Chartres blue. It is a very deep blue colour, and unfortunately, the technology can't be replicated. We can't make that glass today.
That's
now, there
incredible.
is one other there's one interesting aspect about it, which is studies, and I won't go into where these came from, but studies around what colour does to the human animal, such as blues and purples, leave us open to suggestion, leave us open to accessing the more spiritual side of us. Lead us open to all sorts of things that we would perhaps call paranormal, or maybe brings us a little bit closer to the earth, maybe to each other. Now, that's one bit of wisdom, that we knew that the Egyptians had very advanced glass technique, including the ability to colour glass. But there's one idea that we lost that technology, and you can still go and see that glass today. Now, what we're not saying is that if this bloodline mystery is true, if there is a descendant, it wasn't all about glass. I don't think that Jesus, was a glass merchant and trying to make money out of cathedrals, but it's just a flavour of that very ancient knowledge, the so-called Gnosticism, it's esoteric knowledge that has been lost today, that we can still see.
That's amazing.
It's a magnificent place. Very, very daunting when you walk up to it, I think. But also, there's a Black Madonna in Chartres Cathedral as well. I think that's the first one I may have ever seen. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's a labyrinth inside the cathedral.
Yeah, I was there so many years ago, and I don't
remember.
They
don't like it when people come and walk around it.
Yeah,
they don't like it when you try to walk the labyrinth. They try to hide it with chairs, but it's there.
It's there. So but these people who are direct descendants, whether they know or not, are their lives in danger? I mean, they are an affront to the church in a lot of ways.
I don't know that they are. I think that the church relies on, being able to poo-poo things like that, although, as we know, membership in the church has been on the stark decline for the last couple of decades even. So I'm not sure about that. I haven't heard anyone, for instance, Niven Sinclair was supposed to have been, a direct descendant, and I never heard him. I, spoken to him, met with him, stayed at his home, and I never heard him express anything like that, but just kind of almost mild amusement. Now, there is something I'd like to ask James about, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, please.
There is this supposed member of the Bloodline in which our friend Tim put a lot of stock, and he's called Prince Michael. I know very little about Prince Michael, but what do you think, James, about Prince Michael? And could you just explain who he is and why Tim put such store in, his identity?
Well, Prince Michael of Albany, a very eccentric character, to put simply. His apparent bloodline ties in with the old princes, the old Sinclair princes, and he claims a direct... I'm not sure he does claim it, actually, to be fair, but it is claimed that he is a descendant from the House of David and all of this. I think I just want to come back to your previous point around Niven. There are, of course, these secret societies that... the Priory of Sion, for example, there's no doubt it exists today. How old it is perhaps a bit more debatable, but there are those who say, their lives are in danger. I think it adds a bit more to the mystery, and it's a way of getting people to look at them. But generally speaking, I think now that people aren't in any danger. But yeah. Tim took a lot of.
We did have that sudden death as we were getting ready to interview the Queen's cousin, who was allegedly a member of
Lord
the Priory of Zion, Lord Litchfield, whose family home is Shugborough Hall, which is a famous location in this bloodline mystery. It has a monument out on the grounds, which is a mirror image of the Shepherds of Arcadia painting by Nicholas Poussin, which figures hugely in the story and has some kind of coded message at the bottom, which people have tried to decipher. Some people believe they have deciphered it. I don't quite think so yet, but it's just another little mystery. We were supposed to go to Shugborough and interview him for the movie Bloodline, and he was supposedly going to open up his archives for us. Oh. And I was back here in Los Angeles. My partner was over in Paris at the time doing some interviews and shooting for the movie, and he was supposed to head on over to England from there. And I come across the news, because he was quite a a well-known figure. Not, he was the Queen's cousin, but he was also a very famous photographer back in the 70s. And he was very well known for all these photos of Mick Jagger and Twiggy and all these beautiful models with giant afros. If you saw any of his pictures and portraits, you would immediately recognize them from the time. His pictures were iconic during that time period. So he was quite well known, and so it came across the news when he died. Well, he had attended a garden party, and it was at lunchtime, and I think it was in London. You might know, James. But he was quite fit. I think he was around 60 and very, very athletic, very healthy, and he just dropped dead at this garden party luncheon, and they said that, it was a cerebral hemorrhage. And in the film Bloodline, when we were talking to our purported priory contact in the film, he told us that, the priory itself uses a certain type of poison that makes, someone die, and it imitates a heart attack, a cerebral hemorrhage or stroke.
Oh, no.
So
I can further that actually from a few weeks ago. A friend, David, was visiting, and he'd explained that someone who was pretty keen this mystery had died suddenly of a cerebral hemorrhage. I wonder whether or not the descendants are in danger, or the people who protect the so-called secret are, or at least those who believe they have a secret to protect, whether or not there is something there. Because even I have to admit, the number of people involved in it who suddenly die of a cerebral hemorrhage or stroke does appear to be rather large.
I do have to say that during our investigation and filming, we did have some very weird things happen. We had brake lines cut one time. We had phones tapped in our offices in Los Angeles and in the hotel where Bruce was staying in Paris. And I had to, call him and tell him about the office phones being bugged, and there were these strange noises on his hotel phone. And we figured out that we were being listened to there as well. We also
now, who do you think was
was
behind that, Renee?
I have no idea. We also had one time we were in. This was, so long ago that we were still using AOL Instant Messenger. Bruce was in France. I was here at home. We were messaging each other. We were messaging each other one night. We were talking about this, that. He said he was getting ready to go out to the, so-called tomb site, the secret site, and go have a look. And suddenly, I felt like I wasn't talking to Bruce anymore. It was someone that was usually completely different language. But then they were saying things that Bruce and I had talked about, like when we are having a conversation like that and we're not sure who it is because we're not face-to-face, we would say, what's the safe word? And it was always, the safe word was always a word that only he and I would know about. It would be something usually pretty stupid, like a nickname of one of our friends or something like that. And this person that, but Bruce never did it. I always did it because I wanted him to prove that it was him. And that night, in that conversation, I started getting really wary of who was I talking to. And all of a sudden, that person said, "What's the safe word?" And I nearly fell over. And so I just put the string of profanities, and just, I don't even know why I did that, but just I put a string of profanities as my safe word. And the guy said, the typing came up, "Thank you, we will be in touch." And then it was gone, and then Bruce was continuing on, and I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "What happened?" I said, "What were you talking about?" And he said, "I got bumped off right after we said hello." And I said,
"Oh my goodness."
I said, "Get off of the computer." I called him at the Gite where he was staying in France and said, don't go to the site tonight because somebody's been listening to us, you know. And I told them what happened.
No,
I still
scary.
think those instant messages somewhere. I still have them. But that was
thank
pretty
goodness
wild.
for your intuition, Renee.
Well, the other thing is that people were saying to us, like you asked whether people were in danger. People would say to us, "Weren't you afraid?" And I said, "No, I think we were too stupid to be afraid. We probably should have been, but we weren't." And we were on a mission, and that's all we cared about. But probably best when you are looking into things that some people want hidden. Probably best to be a little careful. Watch your back.
I'd say. Yeah, because here's this poor guy that you were going to be interviewing, and he was going to open up his archives to you, and he drops dead of a cerebral hemorrhage, which the secret society group is known to have poison to do this. I mean, it's a terrible thing that he was murdered, possibly murdered
who knows?
That way.
We don't know. We really don't know.
It's a possibility.
But it certainly was an odd coincidence, I'll say, that just before we got there, and it makes you wonder,
what did he have in the archives that you could have revealed to the world through your film that would have been so upsetting?
I don't know, but I do know one thing, that Bruce decided to go on over to Sharpborough anyway, and when he went there, he got to go in, look around, saw some paintings. There was a copy of the Shepherds of Arcadia painting in there. And then later, when we contacted the caretaker or the docent or whoever was in charge there at the house, he denied there ever was that painting in there.
Oh, my.
And Bruce said, "I saw it." He said, "No." So I don't know what that was about.
That's strange.
Another strange.
But I can attest to that. I've been there, and it is.
Really?
Yeah.
That's another piece of proof.
Yep, there it is.
That's odd. It was very, very odd. Like
it
so
is.
many things.
I was having a look there. There were a lot of connections with Francis Bacon, and was he actually the real guy behind Shakespeare? But
right.
Yes, there's a lot of very unusual, again, bits of symbology in Shugborough.
Well, what's so interesting to me about this is that it's still something that somebody wants to keep hidden, and yet so much has been brought out by both of you in the work that you've been doing, and certainly in the books that have been out about this. But yet somebody doesn't want all of the proof out there. It sounds like it can be told as a story, but as soon as you get a document or something that cannot be refuted, that's when things get dicey. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And of course the secret archives of the Vatican hold untold secrets from, not just about, what we're talking about here, but from other cultures, even Native American tribes and things that had, for instance, they went around and collected up many, many wampum belts from all the tribes. And wampum belts, if people don't know, are these beaded belts, ceremonial belts. And it's not just beads. They actually tell a story. Some of them hold secrets. Some of them hold, different kinds of stories about their history and things like that. And the Vatican was collecting all those up. And one of my girlfriends was the cultural and historical director for the Katua Band of Cherokee Indians, and she repeatedly petitioned the Vatican, can I just come and see the Katua wampum belts, not take them, just look at them. And she, and she was in a responsible position for the tribe. She was the historical and cultural director. They wouldn't even give her the time of day. And
sad. Appalling.
Very, very strange. Another thing that they collect, which I think is really odd, and I discovered during some of this research, are meteorites.
Oh,
and I believe
no kidding.
There's something really interesting about meteorites. But
of course, the Vatican's observatory, the telescope in the observatory. Do you know the name?
Yeah,
do you know the name of it?
Wasn't it called Satan or something?
Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Oh,
there you go.
That's the one in Arizona.
It was Lucifer.
Right.
It is Lucifer.
They have another, they've got another observatory at Castel Gandolfo at the Pope's residence in Italy, and it has one of the world's largest meteorite collections at that. There's also an observatory there. But
Doesn't
yes,
it make
that
you want to go
really
raid
weird.
the Vatican, you guys?
Yeah. Definitely.
I can honestly say I think I'd spend a lifetime in there reading what they had.
Oh my gosh! I'd be looking over your shoulder and saying, "What does that say, James? What does that say?"
Well, I just wanted to throw just something in, just really food for thought, which is within the Gospels, the original Gospels, they were written in Greek. There isn't actually any mention of the term crucifix. Instead, it's the Greek word staros, which really means suspension device. It could very well be, and I would suspect that this is deep and buried within an archive somewhere, but that Christ, was he crucified or was he suspended? In other words, was he tortured using what's called a crux simplex? It's just a simple pole. Could that be the case? I mean, it wasn't until the Emperor Constantine that the crucifix was actually used as a symbol for Christianity. It was a fish beforehand. The cross was actually a navigational aid that had been used for centuries beforehand. So it's all very interesting. I'd love to see what's in there. I really would.
Oh, absolutely. But James, now that you say that, remember that church that we were in last August? I think it was in August, and there was that suspended Jesus. I think it was in northern Spain, in Catalonia. I don't think we were in France.
Yeah.
Very weird image. Didn't you think
what
so?
What was it? Was it a painting or what? What was it that you saw?
Well, it was a trip. There were two churches. I mean, there was one, that's a place called Puigrig, which was actually, it was an image taken from a former Templar commandery. But there was also another place, actually from the cloisters of the bishopric of Elne, which is just within France, where there's a triptych, and again, Jesus is being washed, very much alive, but again, sort of suspended in that way. It may very well be that the crucifix came much later, and if he was suspended or he was tortured, could also mean that he wasn't killed.
Mm-hmm. But Patricia, the one that I'm talking about, it was a figure of Jesus, a statue,
right,
suspended on this metal thing. It didn't exactly look like a cross or like what we normally see as a cross depicted. And it was high. It was up in the rafters almost. Remember, James?
I do,
there was
yeah.
something uncomfortable about it. It made me uncomfortable. I'm not sure what it was, but it was kind of spooky or something to me. And also, I'd never seen that type of depiction in a church, anywhere, period.
Yeah, it sounds very otherworldly.
It was. It really was. And there was something else odd in that church, and I don't remember what it was, but James, I remember you remarking on it. Was it a monster or... I don't remember. We've been through so many.
Yeah, you've been everywhere, you two.
Oh, my goodness.
You are the Mary Grail travelers.
Oh,
a number of
you,
churches
we try to be.
Some very demonic looking things. Yes.
The devil church.
Like Redmond
very
also
strange.
has that.
There's lots of churches in the area. I'm just reminded, sorry, Renee, yes, I do remember it, and it was something slightly demonic looking, but there's a church over at Rome in Avois, which is really unusual. It has depictions of a pregnant Magdalene looking like, not looking very worldly. But then, more strangely, right opposite the statue is a piece of stained glass, and in it says, words to the effect of, come and eat the bread and drink the wine of this demon. I have made it for you. And there's depictions of a devil. Now, oddly enough, the two bishops from that church actually became popes. Now, why on earth you would have with such horrendous imagery? I mean, I can't describe the imagery, the carvings within there. This is meant to be a holy place. In fact, it's far from it. And again, that's dedicated to Mary Magdalene. So it's just very unusual.
That is incredible.
Very
now,
odd.
I have an idea. I think that you need to get the team of remote viewers that you have for the Lizzie Borden murder house into the Vatican, and so we can find out what's really there. I think that's the only way we're going to know.
Hey,
so
that's
what
a
do
good
you say?
idea.
Really? I think that
I don't
should be
know
your
if I
next.
can talk them into another thing. It's quite expensive, and they graciously, because of my relationship with Lynn Buchanan, they graciously agreed to do this for us, even though we couldn't afford them. So that was really, really nice. Whether I can talk them to doing something else, I don't know.
I hope
Maybe
so,
if it's
because
interesting enough, they will.
Yeah, we want to know what's in that Vatican, darn it. But please, again, as we're coming down to the end of the show, this has been so wonderful. Again, thank you, James, for staying up so late. And Renee, I know you're just swamped getting ready for the Lizzie Borden Murder House to debut. But please tell everybody again how to sign up for this incredible event.
Just go to thedarkzone.tv, and that's our website. The front page will tell you everything you need to know. Just click in there and get your ticket, get your place, and I hope to see you all there. I'll be there. You'll see me in the chat room, and I'm interacting all the time, and as are the other people. We're a very, very small team, but we're very, very active.
You sure are. And James, you will be there also, interacting with everybody, I'm sure.
I certainly will be, yes. I'll be there on Saturday, and we'll be in and out throughout the weekend.
This is going to be so much fun, everybody. I hope you all will sign up to have this amazing experience with Rene and James and all of their incredible people that are going to be devoting their entire weekend plus to this event. And the cost is minimal. It's only $19.99 for 4 days. And Renee, you said you're going to have a preview up on the internet tomorrow. Is that what you said?
Tomorrow night, go to thedarkzone.tv or the Facebook page for the Dark Zone, and you can see our early preview. It's only, going to be short, but we'll be there. There'll be stuff going on. We'll say hi, and that is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, and James,
Thursday,
we wanted to bring up that you offer tours. Tell us a little bit about that before we wind down.
Oh, yeah.
I do. If anyone finds themselves here in the southwest of France and are interested in looking at some of the churches, castles, chapels, and finding out a little bit more about the history of this area and the mysteries of the area, and feel free to get in touch. The best way to do so would be on Twitter. My account is @CPT James Martin.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for this. I've learned so much, PK. I know you did too. This has been really great.
I'm sitting here with my jaw still wide open. It's been fabulous. I can't believe it was to listen to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful night. Yes,
thank you very much.
Both. Oh, this has been just great, and we wish you all the best with the Lizzie Borden Murder House. It's going to be another exciting event, again, on the heels of the Conjuring House. Don't miss this, everybody. So we will be back next week with another great show. And until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural.